All right, so as many of you have heard, I'm sure, Carolina Panthers linebacker, Defense Player of the Year, All Pro Luke Kuechly has decided to retire after the season at the age of 28. And so he put out, or the Panthers put out a video message from him, kind of saying his goodbye and farewell and everything. And yeah, we got another young player to wrap it up and to call it a career. And if you remember back, I'll put the link in the description, but I had this conversation when we had Andrew Luck retired during the off season, in very different situation. But of course, I talked about the trend that this would continue to set when a quarterback of that magnitude especially did it. And this isn't the first linebacker. We've seen this happen. These definitely aren't the first players, but it's becoming more frequent. And again, I won't repeat everything I said in that episode, but I talked a lot about the game of football and the health of football, meaning the long-term ability to continue to have players to have this game. And you got people pushing back at that time. And again, I never said that it's going to happen tomorrow or next year or even in 10 years, but the trend is heading that way, that something has to be done because less and less people are playing football to begin with. And now, not only, like I mentioned before, not only is the pool of players becoming smaller, but the small pool of people that are actually good enough to make it and be high level players, they're starting to even leave. And so Luke, who some could argue at 28 is towards the twilight anyway, but still somebody I think that had a lot of gas in the tank and that has been a very significant player, walking away and calling it a career. Now, again, I don't knock any man for making that decision for himself. That's what you want to do. So this isn't me bashing him or anything, but it is the sign of something bigger. And similar to when Andrew Luck did it, I pointed this out. The overwhelming response was positive from players and former players or athletes or whatever. And the same thing here with Luke Kuechly. He's been applauded for it. And I'm not saying he should or shouldn't, but at the end of the day, that's just different than what it used to be. And so the fact that walking away from the game is so celebrated and thought of as courageous right now also adds to the whole ability for players to do it. And so, look, I love the game. Of course, I love all levels of the game. I think it's a great sport. It means a whole bunch to me. So, of course, I want to see it continue and thrive. Do I think there's a way to get around certain things? No, I don't think you can get around anything in physical sports. But I do think you could be smarter and more educated about the way you approach it. And I don't think it's inevitable that you have to have brain trauma. Like, you get hurt, you get roughed up, it's physical. I think, opioid addiction and all that is a lot bigger issue. But as far as like brain damage, yes, you can get around that. I know players that played for a long time. In my career, I've never got hurt and to any brain damage, thankfully. And again, I've played rugby for years, since college, and that's way more physical at the end of the day. And concussions aren't nearly what they are in football. So I think just it really becomes about teaching. And so everybody has to make their own choice for themselves. And it's sad to see Luke go. I think he was a great player. I remember him coming out of Boston College. We talked about him being one of the smartest linebackers we've seen. Not even seen, but just not through the game, but him as a person, similar to Andrew Luck. And a lot of these guys that retire are guys that are smart and that can do other things. And so there's a point to it as well. But yeah, it's a trend. It's definitely a trend. So wish him nothing but the best. Wish the Panthers the best in trying to fix those pieces. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on the situation. But I don't think this is the last star to say goodbye. So go to the comment section, let me know what you think. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.